this is going to be great.
Welcome to the White House Pod with David A.R. White.
Guys, I am so excited to be back for this episode. We have an unbelievable guest. I mean, this guest is going to just wow you, as she has wowed me for many, many, many years.
Kelly Ripa?
Wait, I haven't introduced you yet, Kathie Lee. All right, fine. The secret's out. It's Kathie Lee Gifford. Okay, let me just tell you something about her. She is an American television presenter, singer, songwriter, actress, author. Okay, from 85 to 2000, she was on. She's like, oh my gosh, do I have to listen to this again? Yes, you do. I'm going to read your story. You're going to have to just listen, Kathie Lee, for 2 seconds.
Okay, sweetheart, go ahead.
I mean, let's just say this. From 85 to 2000, you were on Regis live with Regis and Kathy Lee. Right? You had an 11-year run with Hoda. My goodness. You received 11 Daytime Emmy nominations for crying out.
No, that is always in there and it's wrong. It's about 50.
I'm so sorry. You received 50 nominations?
No, they were just nominations. I lost.
I think she probably won.
I only won 4 times.
32 times.
I won 4. That's it. And you know,
we're here today to give you another Emmy nod and an award for
my reward and my award is that I'm sitting here with you still talking about these projects that are passion projects for me. It was Paul Newman, who kids don't even know these days who Paul Newman was. He taught me that if I had a pulse, I have a purpose. And I've tried to always remember that when you wake up in the morning, if God's still got a pulse in your body, that means he's not done with you yet.
So how did you get a quote like that from Paul Newman? Like, was Paul Newman a deep thinker? And was
oh my gosh, yes.
Great wisdom? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
he's a brilliant actor and everything else and won tons of.
You know what he was? He was a basically wonderful, decent man. I really, really thought the world of him. One day I was in February in a horrible, miserable night. And I had promised months before, you know, those things you say, I'll be there. I'll be happy to do that. Right. And then the day comes.
Like this morning for you here?
No, I haven't left my house, thank goodness, today. But anyway, so I get in my car, go over to this house where I'm supposed to help raise money for the, I don't know, Westwood Playhouse or something like that. And I'm just got there and by myself, and Frank says, I'm watching football. He didn't go. I don't blame him one bit. So I'm there and there's this rustling of people talking and somebody's come through the door and I went, wonder who's here. I look over and it's Paul Newman. And he always
football with Frank?
Huh?
To watch football?
No, Frank's at home.
I thought Paul Newman came to your house to watch football with Frank.
He has done that, but it was a house that we had down in Florida. No, you've got to follow carefully. Long story. I say, oh, it's Paul. I'll say hello to him later. There's a ton of people around him. You know, he didn't need any more people around him.
Yeah.
So I go into another room.
Paul would circle back to say hi to you because you're Kathie Lee Gifford, for crying out loud.
No,
you've been nominated and won over 50 Emmys.
I did not. All right, you rewrite my bio, okay?
Oh, I'm going to. Dylan, we're going to rewrite Kathie Lee's bio, right? Wikipedia is going to be just jazzed up.
So anyway, I'm standing in another room and I feel somebody do this on the back of my neck. And I just turn around and it's Paul and he's gotten down on one knee. He takes my hands in his hands, kisses it, and then struggles to get up a little bit because he's 80 at the time.
Oh my.
I went, oh, Paul, I'm so happy to see you. He says, it's been too long. He was very sweet. And I said, how are you? And he goes, he said, I've got a pulse. At 80, I've got a pulse. And I thought to myself when I went home that night, and he looked up at me with those blue eyes of his, and all right, he is a little mesmerizing. Even at 80, he was a beautiful man. And I said to Frank when I got home, what happened? And he goes, oh, Kathie, you just love his eyes. I said, no, what I love is that man, he and Audrey Hepburn were the two people earliest on that I remember interviewing that were using all of their celebrity to put good into the world. Audrey was working with UNICEF. She already had colon cancer. Nobody knew it. She'd just flown in from Africa to do the show with me. And I told Frank, and I said, I'm going to take my pulse every morning, just metaphorically, and say, if I have a pulse, then I have a purpose still. And I don't want to lose sight of the purpose. I don't want my life cluttered with stuff. I want to simplify. I want to matter. I want to make changes in this world, whether it's with one individual, or just by being kind, or we changed the world when we changed the HIV testing, the unblinding of HIV testing in New York. Sometimes you're able to change the whole world.
How did you? Okay, Kathie, you've done. By the way, do you prefer people talking to you, Kathie Lee, Catherine Lee? Like, I'm
don't know.
looking at the bio here.
I kind of like Pookie.
Pookie? Okay, Pookie. We're gonna put that in the Wikipedia.
You know what? I love to be called. The Yiddish word for grandmother is booby. Booby. I didn't want to be grandma. I didn't want to be granny. I didn't want to be any of those things. So I asked a friend of mine whose mother is Israeli. I said, what's the Yiddish word for grandma? She goes, booby. And of course, my kids think it's booby. That's what they all say. I said, no, this is booby.
Yep.
This is boob. Anyway, it's funny. And I call them boobala. And I sing poopy songs to them all day long, and they think I'm a genius.
How many grandkids do you have?
Well, all of a
I didn't
sudden,
even know you had a grandkid.
Oh, three now. They're 2 and 1 and 7 months. And my son has 2 sons, and my daughter has a Finny. We call him. His name is Finn, but he looks like Winston Churchill, so we call him Finston Churchill. And I'll say to him, we FaceTime every morning, and I'll go, Finny, you've got the poopy down in your pants. Where down in your? And he this kid loves the poopy song. And so does Cody's older.
I mean, what grandma does any other kid have that belts it out and has an unbelievable voice?
I did 16 albums. And yeah. I made a great living at it for a long, long time. But now
Are we done? Are we done with singing?
No, I'll never be done with poopy songs.
All right, how do you? Okay, you've accomplished so much in your life, right? And
well, look at you.
Going back, well, thank you, but we're talking about you here.
Oh, that's right, my favorite subject. Okay.
When did you come to that premonition about what Paul Newman had said to you, right? And about what you're talking about taking life, those moments in life. Like, did you have to go through something specific that brought you to that place, or have you always been there?
I've always been an optimist. I was everybody, the Bible talks about how the dreams are in us, made in our mother's womb. And the Bible says that you're wonderfully and fearfully made. That's a bad translation of the fearfully. Most of the time, the word fear, yireh in the Hebrew, is meant to be awe and wonder. Nothing frightening about having a baby, bringing life into the world. And so I spend a lot of my time studying the original source material of the scriptures, the Hebrew in the Old Testament and the Greek in the New. And I'm so sorry they ever broke it down in half, because it created all kinds of enmity in the world.
When do you study? Do you study in the morning? Do you study at night? Like, when do you just nonstop every time you go to your dressing room, you're looking at, the Greek and Hebrew? Like, I mean,
No, I study mostly in Israel. Mostly in Israel.
Just more recent with your
you can't right now. Not right now.
No, but before, like when you would go there and when you studied, even, you did the research for your book.
Well, I've written 5 books now about Israel studies. One of them was a big book. It was called The Rock, the Road, and the Rabbi. And The rock is Jesus. The road is the Holy Land, studying there where Jesus was actually standing and teaching these amazing things. And the rabbi is not the rabbi I co-wrote the book with. It's rabbinical teaching. And people go, that's kind of scaresome. Well, I don't want a rabbi to teach. No, rabbinical teaching is basically, what does the Bible, and not even the Bible anymore, because it's got such a bad reputation, so many bad translations. It's really the scriptures, the original scriptures. And when you go there and you study that way, you're never the same again, David. It lit a fire. I'd become one of those lukewarm Christians. I had no real spiritual joy anymore. I had no desire to I don't know. It just, because I was reading bad theology. And so this changed my life. I remember being on top of a mountain at a place called the Valley of Elah.
How long ago was this?
Well, I've been a believer in Yeshua since I was 12, which is way long ago, the 1800s. But no, 2012.
That was the 70s. Come on, let's be honest.
2012 wasn't that long ago, but it just lit a fire in my gut to know the word. Because, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. It's the greatest mystery of all. And the Father remains a huge mystery to me. But Jesus is not I got Jesus.
Were you going through something in 2012 that you went there to the Holy Land, and that sparked the revival of your faith?
You know what? I've been going to the Holy Land since I was 17. I was always a Bible nerd.
Okay.
Always a Bible nerd. And I wanted, my daddy, as my graduation gift from high school, gave me and my mother a trip to Israel for the first Jerusalem conference on biblical prophecy. And I just was fascinated by it. And then I went and shot movies there and did all kinds of different things there. Television programs, lots of stuff.
Did you ever want to live there? Were you ever going to transplant and go, you know what, I'm going to move to Israel?
Yeah, I wanted to move to Israel when I was accused of sweatshop and violations, and putting, I've been an advocate for children my entire life. And then one day I wake up one morning and I go, you know what I think I'd like to do today? I think I'd like to put a whole bunch of impoverished kids to work in sweatshops. What? Yeah.
How did they even get that? How do they write that? Who comes up with that and says, "Oh, this will stick for a minute"?
And it almost did. There was a guy. He's gone now, and I don't judge where he went, but he put my family through hell for a long time. He claimed to be a civil rights advocate for actually what he was an attorney for Unite, which is the what at the time it was a garment industry. It was
But what was the point of doing this to you, though? What was
because it's fascinating. They wanted to unionize Walmart, and I had a clothing line there, and nothing's going to unionize Walmart, And I made a fortune of it, and we were able to spend $14 million building Cassidy's place, the next little house that's still there, taking care of 200 kids. Yeah, I said, you know what, you guys, you want to know my motivation? It has an address. I'll take you over to Cody House and Cassidy's place, where we've spent millions of dollars as advocates for children.
Where are those places?
One of them is on 91st Street, and the other is you know what? I've got to picture them.
In both New York, though.
Yeah, 86 is one of them, and 91st is the other one. Yeah, and I just said, you want to go look at where my money went? I'm happy to take you there. I'll buy you lunch. And I said, anyway, it was one of the hardest things I've ever experienced.
How did you come out of it? Like, how did you come out of it? And was that even, I mean, to go through that every day, like, did it last 6 months, a year?
No, it lasted years. To this day, sometimes I'll get messages.
Wow.
How are your sweatshop kids in Honduras?
Wow. I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
You know why it endured so much, David? Because Nobody wanted to know the truth. And this is the reason I said, I'm going to move. I'm going to take my children out of a nation like this that no longer cares about a good family, trying to put good things into the world. They just want to sell their ugly newspapers and their stupid, television shows. And they want to believe that somebody like me is a child molester. It was
Crazy.
devastating to me. And nobody, even my own network, ABC at the time, they said that I was supposed to be grateful they didn't fire me. I said, for what? Building homes for AIDS and crack babies?
Wow.
But the media, there was no social media back there that I could even imagine what it would be like
Did
now.
that have anything to do with when you retired? Like
I didn't retire.
Well, I mean, like from now, I know obviously you didn't retire. You're still you're releasing a book right now.
I refired.
Yeah. Did you get fired?
No, I didn't. No.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't. I thought you just
No, I was done with the I get
contract.
bored. I was making, I was in a velvet rut. I owned 1/4 of the show with Regis. Disney
Right.
owned half, and Regis and I owned the other quarters. And it was a huge, huge phenomenon. I mean, we changed the one thing I will say is,
No,
and
I grew up watching
we
it.
changed the landscape of
Yeah.
daytime television.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
And we didn't try to. We just wanted to have fun. And I didn't want to be at Good Morning America where everybody was reading a teleprompter. That doesn't work for me. That just doesn't work for me.
Well, with the
And
personality and charm and beauty like yours, how
I
in the
know
world
who
could
can
you be?
contain it.
Yeah, exactly.
I knew that when I watched Regis, every time I'd see him, I'd go, oh my God, I love that guy. He's always doing something stupid or hysterically funny or crazy, brave. He was a born entertainer.
Actually, I have so many questions for you, and I hate that we're on a limited time schedule. But here, let me ask you this real quick though.
We're not. You're my last one.
Well, all
It
right.
ain't happy hour yet. But
how did you start Regis and Kathie Lee? Like, what was the motivator behind that you guys were like, we're gonna do this?
Regis had just left AM Los Angeles, and everybody, I mean, he was just the king of LA, and he left to do a national show, and it didn't go well. So he ended up doing a local show in New York called The Morning Show. And I, by that time, was going through a divorce, and seriously unhappy. And I got asked to come and work for Good Morning America. They were grooming me to be the new Joan London, and I said, I'm not a journalist. I don't deserve a job like that. I've spent 15 years at that time trying to be an actress and a singer and a writer in New York, in LA. And I said, some journalist deserves this opportunity. They go, we don't want a journalist. We want somebody just great with people. You're a natural. You don't have a script. You're funny, and you're just a great entertainer. I said, well, yeah, I am all those things, but I'm kidding. Oh, I'm having fun at my own expense. I said,
Well,
I
it
was
makes
going
sense.
through,
You are all those things.
I was going through the divorce. I said, I'm going to get out of LA for a year while that pans out, and I'll do it for a year. And I hated it. And I'd watch Regis. He was now on the morning show in New York, and his Ann Abernathy, I think was her name. She was leaving to get married, and I called my agent and I said, I want that job. I want that job. He goes, what? You're going to be the next Joan London on the #1 talk show, #1 morning show in the country. I said, I could give a rip. I don't like it. I'm not happy there. I need to use whatever gifts I have. I need to be authentic. It has to be real. And that guy, if I was with him, I'd never even met him before, we would have so much freaking fun. And that's what happened. I got the job. That was in June of '85. I don't even remember. By September, we Phil Donahue had left. He'd been winning that time slot for 14 years, and he was gone and into the afternoon, and he's been fine. Phil's just fine, and a nice guy. I like Phil. But anyway, then we said to each other all the time, you know what? We're not going to go national. We're not going to go national unless somebody says, we promise we will not change you. The suits get involved, you know.
Yeah.
They know better. They've never, you know,
Yeah.
they in their
Everybody
ivory
has
towers.
notes too, for why, for what reason. Notes.
Well,
too.
they do everything by research. I've been on a stage my whole life. I know when a song bombs. I know when it, you know. By the way, your first scene in your God's Not Dead movie, you know that is my
Yeah.
daughter, right?
Of course, Cassidy. Yeah.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
great. You know, it's our 10-year anniversary, obviously, right now.
You
So
gonna
10 years
throw a
ago.
bash?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
I might put on my Spanx again for that. I haven't worn them since I left this television.
Oh, well, let's break those Spanx out. No, your daughter, by the way, how are Cassidy and Cody?
They're so great. I hope Cass comes back to acting.
Where do they live now? Where are they living?
They're here. Cassidy and Ben, her husband,
Okay.
are here. And ironically enough, her husband's parents were the ones that got me to go to on that fateful trip to study rabbinically.
Wow.
Yeah, they've been
that's-
probably 50 times to Israel. They're unbelievable. And now we're family. Yeah, so it's
Did they grow
interesting.
up together, Cassidy and Ben? Wow.
We both had homes in Ocean Reef, Florida. And that was our getaway place in the wintertime.
Was this an arranged marriage? Did you have
No, you would think. We used to watch them. I think Cass was 11 and he's 4 years older than her. And we'd watch them and we go, these two are going to get married. Wow. They're going to get married. There's no question. And she was dating another guy, Mr. Fabulous, Greenwich, Connecticut, and realized one day, oh my God, I'm in love with Ben. And so they got married 4 years ago, this in June, had Vinny last year. So he's going to be one. And Winston Churchill. And I sent you a picture of him. You would die. You go,
we're going to put a picture up. Yeah.
That's Winston Churchill.
You're up for it.
Anyway, but
and where's Cody is, yeah, where's he living?
Cody, you know, he got his master's degree from Oxford.
Yeah.
In screenwriting. He's brilliant.
Is he in LA? Is he here in LA?
No, they live in my house in Connecticut. He's not stupid. After we bought that house, Donald Trump came over. Donald Trump came over to see our house after we bought it. This is like 32 years ago. And Donald, typical Donald, he goes, okay, so you got the second most beautiful house in all the whole East Coast.
What did you just recently move to Nashville?
5 years ago.
Okay.
But obviously I still have my house in Connecticut. I go home once a month to see my family. And then I'm praying that they'll see the light and move down here. We don't want to sell our house yet. This is where I found Frank when he passed. This is where his ashes are scattered everywhere. This is where every pet we ever had is buried. I mean, we got a million memories.
In Nashville more than Florida.
I got a little teeny place here at the beginning. I just thought I wanted a pied-a-terre where I could write with people. And, I told you I'd been writing with Brett James, who's just, and after you write with Brett James and you have a movie that comes out, I don't know if you ever saw the movie that I wrote for Craig Ferguson and me. It's very funny. You don't want to miss my bathtub scene. It's called Then Came You. Then came breaks with him, of course, because we're on set. Basically, we're the only two people in the movie. Oh, Elizabeth Hurley is in it. She tries to steal my guy. That bitch.
That doesn't seem like a role that Elizabeth Hurley would ever play.
She got paid a lot of money for one day's work. I actually like Elizabeth. She's a lot of fun. Yeah. But anyway, we'd be on the set, and movies more than anybody does, and you're just a lot of sitting around time waiting for people to get a light right or whatever. And we would just talk. He's very smart. He loves all of the great philosophers. I mean, he's an amazingly intelligent man. And we just talk about the Lord. And he goes, Kathy, I still don't believe in your guy. And I go, our guy. He goes, okay, our guy. But I don't. I don't believe in him. I said, I know, but he believes in you. And darn, if he just about 6 months ago called me, he was come to Nashville, Kathy. I've got a podcast now. It's called Joy. And I want you to be my very first guest. And I said, come stay. I love this man. No, I'm just coming in to do the podcast and I got to go. So I said, okay. At the end of the podcast, we ended up doing 3 of them, I think. It was only supposed to be an hour, one episode. He kissing me, hugging me goodbye. And I was just so happy. And he goes, Kathy, you know all the things that we talked about all of those years, all the times we talked, And I go, yes, of course I do. He goes, I'm starting to believe they're all true. Mm. It's all true. You're right. It's all true. Oh my gosh, I wept. Because you will appreciate this story. One time we were waiting as usual, and he goes, and he knows that he's my favorite agnostic, and Ricky Gervais is my favorite atheist. Anyway, he says, he knows that. He says, Kathy, why do you love me and Ricky? We're not good guys. We don't believe anything that you believe. And I go, well, but why do you love us? I said, because God does. You're made in God's image, and you may not believe in him, but he believes in you, and you make me laugh, and I adore you. I adore you both. And he goes, Kathy, in all of these years, not one person of faith has told us that they love us. And I said, well, then you've never met one. That is why we are here. That's our pulse. That's our purpose. I was supposed to be doing a movie that I wrote for this man that I adore, and we had the best time. Did I ever dream that he, within a couple of years, say, it's all true? And I said, yes, it's all true, sweetheart.
Wow. All right, you have to tell me about your book before people are like, they're like winding me up here. I hate that. We were time limit here.
I have 2 coming out. Which one are we talking about?
We're talking about Herod and Mary.
Oh, that one's coming out in July. It's a series of books called Ancient Evil, Living Hope. Because when I went on this first rabbinical trip, I learned stuff about Herod that curled my toes. And I went, oh my God, I came home and I got every book I could find on Herod and just devoured them. I had dreams of calling my Mel Gibson and saying, we got to do Herod. I said, if Jesus is the greatest story ever told, Herod is the greatest story never told. His life was unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, I co-wrote it with this brilliant man named Brian Litvin. And he's got more PhDs in biblical studies and all that sort of thing, but he's an excellent writer. Huh?
Then you have Emmys?
I think so. Definitely. You want my Emmys? They're downstairs here in my music room.
No. You keep your Emmys. All 50 of them.
It's funny, the things you get in old age that would have meant so much to you early on in your life. I remember recently, whenever it was, I got some big award, like maybe the Hollywood Walk of Fame or whatever. And I remember Frank looking at me and going, aren't you already in that?
You already had one of those.
Yeah, it's just because it just doesn't mean much to you as you get older. The things that really mean are to you are what you've done to impact the world, to help people to be and your children and what kindness did you share? It used to be when I was growing up, that cruelty was rare. You never cruelty. Now I look everywhere is cruelty. Everybody's so cruel to one another. You know what makes me sob my eyes out now? Kindness, because it's so rare. When I see an act of kindness, I'm moved, and it breaks my heart. But I wouldn't want to live in Israel now. I didn't end up going, and I could have lived in France because I'm dual citizenship with French. I used to be. I'm not anymore. I was born in Paris.
We got to do that one. I want
What?
to know your whole upbringing. Gonna do that on another podcast episode. All right, but first, tell me about your book though. When's it coming out though? Because they're
July
giving me the
16th.
whole thing. I got 4 minutes.
All right, here's the deal, Banana Peel. We took everything we learned about Herod and we made a thriller out of it. Just an amazing thriller. And we juxtaposed it up against his evil, his tyranny, his murderous, one of the worst guys ever, and yet probably the most brilliant architect of all time. He did unbelievable architectural things. And anyway, he at lots of the ruins of all of those
stuff. All of that is in the book, right?
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. We tell
That's
the whole
fascinating, actually.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't know that.
His whole political, life was completely wrapped up in Rome. They were simultaneous. Caesar Augustus, Julius Caesar, and Cleopatra and Mark Antony. Cleopatra tried to seduce Herod. It's like, you know what it's like? When you read this story, you kind of go, it's the desperate housewives of the New Testament. It really is.
There's your next book. That's
the intrigue.
That's a great.
The next one's Nero, because the basic concept is there's been evil in the world since the garden. Evil, evil, evil. But there's also God's people and God's remnant and God's love. And we can't lose sight of that. As Herod was dying, it is one of, I think, 11 palaces in Jericho. He was so putrid.
And that's our time. Actually, they are queuing me out though. But okay,
No,
hold on a second.
Juxtaposed against Mary giving birth to the Savior. The goodness and the kindness and the servanthood compared to somebody that was building his own kingdom. Mary's giving birth to the kingdom of God.
I love that. That's amazing. All right, so this book comes out when?
July 16th.
Well, July 16th in every bookstore on the planet.
Yes.
Also, order it online anywhere. It's Kathie Lee Gifford, one of the best authors ever.
Oh, honey, thank you.
New York Times bestseller.
Many times. Just kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? I just did the audiobook just the other day.
Well, that's what everybody has to listen to.
Shoot me. There's not one person in this story named Fred. Everybody's Archer, Maluti, all these Greek names.
You sing every single time a name comes up. Do you like go into a song with them?
No, I start the poopy song because I'm just
like, wait. Kathie Lee Gifford, as always, I hope I see you next time I'm in Nashville. Our Gods Not Dead, we're going to do a premiere, I think in Nashville, actually, in September. So I hope you come to that for our latest Gods Not Dead, our 10th year anniversary.
And use me. I'm an actress. Use me.
I know.
In your movies.
Well, that is for sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna work with you very soon, I hope.
You say you love me, but you're like all the other men in my life.
All right. On that note, I gotta go. Bye, darling.
Bye.
Aaron and Mary in stores, July
16th.
I got it.
This is my favorite interview of the year.
Thank you.
Bye, baby.
Appreciate you. Bye.
Shalom.